Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel.
We're the Dawnties.
My name is Rochelle.
I'm your favorite Donna.
You're gonna give yourself whiplash.
It's okay, it's worth it.
And in today's video, we're going to talk about our favorite books that we read in January.
I read some good ones.
Me too. So this is something we do every month. We talk about our top 3 favorite books, which can be very hard to narrow down, but I think we got some really good picks here. So do you want to start off?
Okay, well, I'm not finished with it yet, but I'm thinking this one is going to be my favorite book. I'll finish it today.
Yeah, you only have like an hour left. Right?
Yeah, and it's Grady Hendrix' How to Sell a Haunted House. And I think Grady Hendrix took my childhood
God.
and then looked around the house that we have now with all the Funko Pops and all of that
Yeah.
and made a horror story out of it. I relate to this book so much. As they're growing up, their mom has a Christian puppet ministry. And
Your dad.
my dad was the leader of the children's ministry at the church that I grew up in. And he did a puppet ministry. And believe it or not, I'm a professional puppeteer. I got paid to put on puppet shows when I was little. So there's puppets in this haunted house book.
Yeah.
That, I relate to that so much. But then their parents died. Her and her little brother, who's a grown man now,
Yeah.
they come back to their house that they grew up in, and they have to figure out what they're going to do with all these puppets that their mom has built and collected dolls and all of this, that, and the other. And that part just makes me think of the last time my son was in town.
Which was like 2 weeks before Christmas this
Uh-huh.
last year.
And her little sister and family came over. So basically this is his aunt, right? And he starts yelling at his aunt as he's looking around our house going, how the hell did you let this happen? They're gonna die and I'm gonna have to come back to Texas and get rid of all this crap.
Yeah. I will say this is a very good book, and it's making me question, do I want to continue to collect Funko Pops? Yeah, it was spooky. Like,
I'm loving it. I'm loving
you
it.
would.
And
You
I'm
would.
laughing through the whole thing. But definitely, there is some spooky elements to it. It
Yeah.
does get a little gory in some places.
Well,
but
it's Grady Hendrix. All of his books have that icky, like, scene or two.
I am loving this book, y'all. I
Well,
relate to it so much.
I think it will be your favorite because I don't think the ending is disappointing. I read this before she did. Yeah, it was good, but whew, gave me the heebie-jeebies.
The heebie-jeebies?
Yes. So the first book I want to talk about is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This is a fantasy, which I'm kind of reading a little bit of fantasy, not a whole lot, but this one reminds me of Aladdin in a way, because we're following this girl, Hala, and
Holla!
it might be Hala, I don't know, but she is a widow. She's a widow, and her family locks her up because of her inheritance, and they're going to force her to marry her cousin so they can get their hands on her inheritance. So they have her locked up, and she's contemplating taking her own life. And there's a sword in the room that she's in. So she takes it out of the sheath. And she is
gonna go kill Bill?
No, she's going to herself.
Oh, it'd be funner to kill somebody else. I'm saying.
But whenever she does that, this guy pops out of it. It's like the genie in the bottle, or a genie in the lamp, you know.
So there's a genie in the sword?
Basically, yeah. His name is Sarkis, and he is from another time. He's lived forever and ever.
Wait, his name is Circus?
Sarkis. 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 And he is, since she unsheathed the sword, he is now her protector. And so he helps her escape her family, and they go on this adventure, and they meet all kinds of fun people and characters, and they fall in love.
She falls in love with the genie and the sword.
Yes, it is so good. This was so like her. This was the book that had the chicken quote in it that I sent to you.
She was bringing back the most traumatic memory of my childhood.
Okay, I will say, like, every single book I read reminds me of her in some way, and this one was the weirdest one because there's a quote in here where he talks about, they have a conversation about chickens with their heads cut off still run around, and he's like, please don't remind me that was horrible, I never want to think about that again, and that was actually her very first memory in life, is that she was actually chased around with a headless chicken chasing her.
My dad chops the head off the chicken, and then the chicken starts running around. I start screaming and running, and I zig and I zag, and the chicken does too, but it ain't got no head. How that happen? I'm traumatized too, y'all.
Yeah.
And that's my earliest childhood memory.
And they have a conversation about that exact same thing in here. And I'm telling you, every single book reminds me of her in some way or another. And that was like the weirdest one yet. But this was really fun. This was really adventurous. I really liked the characters. Hala, however you want to say her name.
Hala!
She is so funny, and she has like word vomit where she can't shut up, and she annoys him. And
I have
so
that
funny.
too.
Yeah, well, like level of Lorelai Gilmore level, like
Oh.
just constant random talking, and it gets on his nerves. And their interactions are so fun. I really enjoyed this one.
Okay, so my next one, she also read as well, and it was Book Eaters.
Yes.
And it was not what I was expecting, because I'd seen other booktubers review Book Eaters, and they were all like, so the little girls eat princess books growing up and fairy tales and blah, 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 and the boys eat different kinds of books, but these are okay for girls and these are okay for boys, and instead of eating food, they eat books, and when they eat a book, they retain all the knowledge from that book.
Yeah.
So that was all I was thinking about going into it.
Yeah, and I think it's a fantasy horror, categorized as fantasy and horror, so.
But I ended up really liking it.
Yeah.
It had some psychological thriller stuff in there that I was not expecting.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Yeah, that was a good one. I really liked that one.
Yeah, I don't know who it's by, but I'll put the cover here for you so you can see it. But yeah, if you want a weird, fantastical horror thriller, it was good.
Yeah.
At the heart of it, it's really about, like, you know, a parental relationship, a mother and son relationship, because she has a son that eats something else than books. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
All right, the next book I want to talk about is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. This was my book of the month pick for January, I believe. Yeah, for January. And I read it this month, and this one, I was glued to it. So you have these group of 3 friends when they're 11. They're in the woods, they're playing, and one of them is brutally attacked, but she survives. Fast forward, I think it's 22 years later, the one who was attacked comes back to her hometown, meets with her friends who were with her on that day or whatever, and things start coming out as what really happened, because when they were 11, their testimonies put someone behind bars for the attack, and then connected to like several other murders that occurred, you know, around the area. But she's questioning if what she remembers actually happened. So I'm not going to go into anything more than that, but this was really good, really gripping. I really enjoyed this story and how it unfolded, and all of the people who are kind of like interconnected into these girls' lives. And once everything is revealed, like, this reminds me of a true crime story that I've heard about. I want to talk to you about it later, because I don't remember if what I'm thinking happened in an actual true crime story is kind of how it plays out in here. So,
well, I've got it on hold in Libby, so
it is so good. I really, really enjoyed this thriller.
The last one that I'm going to choose for the best I read in January is The Overnight Guest.
Ooh, I haven't read this one.
I got it, I think, off Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
And so it's about this lady she's having some trouble with her teenage son.
You know, teenage boys, they're a handful. Been there, done that.
And then so she's a writer. She writes true crime stories, but she had a traumatic incident in her past, and she has decided, okay, I'm gonna write about my trauma. And so she goes away and for a couple of months, and she stays at this secluded farmhouse to really deep dive into her emotions because she's writing her story.
Okay.
Well, while she's doing that, there's a snowstorm, and she goes outside to get some more wood for the fire, and she sees a little boy, half naked, laying in the snow. So she gets him up, brings him inside, but he's obviously been through something, and he's scared, and he's not talking to her. And so she tries to talk to him a little bit, gets him to calm down, gets him to sleep. And then she goes out and goes and looks, and she sees that there was a truck that was wrecked. And she finally decides that this boy came from this truck wreck.
Okay.
She can't find any other adults or anything, can't get the boy to talk. So that starts this. But when she gets to the truck, there's no adults around. So she's like, what's going on? What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
So that starts out the story.
Okay, so the kid is the overnight guest?
Yes.
Okay.
The kid ends up spending the night because they're stuck in the snowstorm. She can't get the authorities to help her with this kid.
Okay.
And that's what starts the story. It's a good one, y'all. It really is a good one.
I'm really hesitant with books with children. Thrillers with children.
You could handle this one.
Okay. So then the last book that I want to talk about, it's actually a trilogy, and it is on Kindle Unlimited as well. And it is the Arrangement series by Kirsten Maudlin? Sure. That. These are 3 very short books. I think they're around 200 pages each, and each one directly follows the next. And I remember reading the first book, and you're like, okay, it's a domestic thriller style. You have a husband and a wife. They're having some issues, so the wife proposes. They have an arrangement where they can go on a dating app and have one night a week where they can go on a date, and don't tell me anything. I'll cover with our kids, that you're working late or whatever. And then on a Tuesday the wife goes, and on Thursday the husband goes, or they can just go and do whatever they want to do with no consequences in their marriage, whatever. So
yeah, that ain't happening. Nope.
So that is the arrangement. But as you get further into this story, things happen, and secrets come out, and the wife is very, very smart. I will say that. She blew me away throughout all 3 books. And the first book ends on a cliffhanger that will leave your jaw on the floor, that will make you want to pick up the next one immediately. And the same thing happens at the end of book 2. And it all wraps up really well. I'm very happy with how this series ends. And I know that this is a hit or miss for a lot of people, but for me, I devoured it. I loved it. I recommended it to my mom. She read all 3 books in 2 weeks, and now her best friend is also reading it, and she's currently on the 2nd book. It is a very, very good. There's murder, there's serial killer aspects, and it is just so good.
Sounds like I would like this one.
You would.
And it's KU?
Yes,
all
KU.
All right.
I think the audiobooks are 3.5, 4 hours each. They're very, very short, very quick to get through. But I will say that the first book, you do have a lot of kind of background information about their marriage, about them while they're going through their current their current timeline.
So I may not like the first one,
Well-
but the second and the third I'm really gonna like.
No, I think you will like the first one. But
Oh, okay.
My mom didn't know what category it was, so whenever she was reading the first one, she was like, "Is this a comedy? Is this a romance? Like, what category does this fall into?" Until things start happening towards the second half of the first book, she was like, "Oh, it's a thriller."
Okay.
So.
All right.
But I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I know it's a hit or miss with a lot of people, but I devoured this, and this is actually sending me down a rabbit hole of reading more of her books. And I think I've read 2 or 3 others this month by this author, all on Kindle Unlimited. So if you read the arrangement and you like it, I would say continue with the series because it is really worth it in the end.
Okay.
Those were our top 3 favorite books that we each read in January. Yeah, that is a good one. It's Grady Hendrix, so you're gonna have, this is like my 4th book by him. You're gonna have that squeamish, very grotesque scene.
I ain't squeamish.
This one really, like, for those of you who are new here, we are Disney Funko Pop collectors, mainly Disney collectors, but Funko Pops as well. And we have a Funko Pop of Benson from Toy Story 4, the dummy in Toy Story 4.
3,
4.
4.
Yeah, with your favorite villain, Gabby Gabby.
Oh.
Damn Gabby Gabby, she don't deserve her own kid.
Every time.
But where I was reading this, Benson was looking right at me. And I requested, when we get rid of him? She said no. I said, okay, fine, move him to your office. She said no. He follows me. His eyes follow me everywhere I go downstairs, and it's terrifying. And Grady Hendrix really makes me question, we need to get rid of our Funko Pop.
This is like my childhood and my life right now turned into a horror story.
Yeah. And
This is funny.
It's not funny.
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyways, leave a comment down below. Let us know what your favorite book that you read in the month of January was, or if you've read any of these that we've recommended or that we loved in this the first month of the year. Let us know. Yeah, I'm very excited. We've read some really good books and new release books.
Yeah, but we gotta speed
So-
this up because I gotta go finish this. Let's go.
Alright, that's what it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.
Bye.